world of Transformers has been defined by the endless war between the noble Autobots and the ruthless Decepticons. The battle isn't just a battle for power, but an ideological clash between two factions led by Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots, and Megatron, leader of the Decepticons. We're all too familiar with the scale and stakes of these battles, but what happens when the battlefield itself starts to become the threat? That's where Unicron enters the story. He's the Chaos Bringer, the Lord of the Undead. He's the biggest threat in the Transformers universe because he's a literal mechanical god who devours entire planets. It feels wrong to classify Unicron as a mere villain. He's an entire cosmic force of nature who stands apart from all of the Cybertronian race. But what made the creators introduce such an overpowered villain? Well, Unicron was conceptualized by screenwriter Ron Friedman and visually brought to the screen by production designer Floro Derry in the 1986 animated film. Unicron was created to redefine the stakes at an apocalyptic level of threat for the franchise, and to give this entity the weight it deserved, the creators cast the legendary Orson Welles, Citizen Kane himself, in his final film performance. His powerful voice would become Unicron's most iconic feature. Megatron was already a compelling antagonist, but his ambitions were grounded in familiar ideas like power, control, and conquest. The creators wanted to take things even further and raise the stakes even higher, so to achieve that, they needed a threat so big and overwhelming that even sworn enemies would have no choice but to stand together, just to survive a little while longer. Unicron embodies absolute existential dread. He devours whatever stands in his way and answers to no one. And yet, despite his immense presence, his origins are incredibly complex. Unicron's story has been rewritten, expanded upon, and reimagined across countless timelines and interpretations. When you have a threat of this magnitude, it's important to answer questions like, where does this planet devourer truly come from? Was he created at the beginning of time, or has he always existed as a primordial force of chaos across the multiverse? And what is his connection to his eternal counterpart, Primus? Today, we're diving into every origin of the Ultimate World Eater, so grab your popcorn and sit back, because this is going to be a long one. This is every origin of Unicron across the Transformers lore explored. Let's get into it. Unicron's origin in The Transformers, the movie, 1986. Unicron is also known as the Devourer of Planets, and we get to see him justifying that name in the first shot of the Transformers movie, where he devours the entire planet of Lithone. It's a giant planet, but compared to Unicron, which is also a planet, it's nothing. Unicron's sheer size makes it impossible for Lithone to defend itself. It's a lost battle from the moment Unicron appears. It takes him just a few minutes to devour the entire planet along with its inhabitants. A brutal battle between the Autobots and Decepticons occurs, and in the aftermath, the Decepticons leave a broken Megatron to drift in space. This is when the enormous, intimidating presence of Unicron returns to the screen. He's gigantic compared to Megatron, and every time he speaks, Megatron is blown away by the sheer force of his voice. He tells Megatron that he summoned him to offer him a deal. He has to destroy the Autobot Matrix of Leadership, and in exchange, Unicron will be granted a new body and troops. It seems that the Matrix of Leadership is the only thing that can actually destroy Unicron. Megatron boasts that he destroyed Optimus Prime, but Unicron tells him that the Matrix has been passed on to Ultra Magnus. Megatron reluctantly accepts the offer, and he's rebuilt into Galvatron. As Galvatron, he's stronger and faster, but completely under Unicron's thumb. The other destroyed Decepticons left in space are turned into his troops. Galvatron interrupts Starscream's coronation ceremony and attacks him. Unicron has made Galvatron so strong that he turns Starscream into dust. In the next scene, we see Unicron attack Moonbase 1. Jazz, who is piloting Moonbase 1, sends a message to Earth that they're under attack. Unicron devours the moon, and Jazz and his companion try to get away, but they're also eaten alive. Spike and Bumblebee try to distract Unicron, which is on its way to devour Moonbase 2. They set explosives on the moon, which Unicron devours as well, and when they explode, for a moment, it seems as if the plan worked, but then it's revealed that they didn't even leave a dent in the monster. Bumblebee and Spike are in shock, and very soon, Unicron sucks them in, consuming them as well. Galvatron is angered because he wants to rule over Cybertron and all of its moons, but Unicron's mind control is too strong, and Galvatron is forced to say that he will obey. The Autobots are worried because they realize that Unicron is the biggest threat they've encountered, and he's more dangerous than all of the Decepticons put together. Galvatron attacks the Autobots and hunts the Matrix across space. Galvatron believes he's destroyed Ultra Magnus and the Matrix, but Unicron tortures him and tells him that Ultra Magnus is on the planet Junk. Galvatron heads there post-haste, and this time he succeeds in destroying Ultra Magnus and manages to secure the Matrix. He then gets cocky and tries to threaten Unicron with the Matrix. Galvatron threatens Unicron to do his bidding, or he'll use the Matrix to destroy him, but Unicron is the ultimate villain, and Megatron is just a petty thug compared to him. Unicron transforms into a massive robot, which stuns Megatron, and he clearly realizes he's no match for the monster. In his robot form, Unicron attacks the Decepticons and swallows Galvatron and the Matrix. Inside Unicron, a desperate Galvatron tries to ally with Hot Rod, but Unicron still has control over his mind, and he forces Galvatron to attack Hot Rod instead. They fight, and Galvatron almost manages to destroy Hot Rod, but he manages to activate the Matrix, and he transforms into Optimus Prime. He defeats Galvatron and attacks Unicron from the inside using the Matrix's powers. Finally, he destroys Unicron's body, and that seems like the end of him, but as we said, Unicron keeps coming back. In the final shot of the movie, we see Unicron's head floating through space. Unicron's origin in the G1 cartoon, Season 3, 1986 to 87. So what happened to Unicron's head drifting through space? Don't worry, the movie doesn't leave us with too much of a cliffhanger because the G1 cartoon picks the story right up where it left off in Season 3. Unicron's head floats around in space after the Autobots win the battle, but while the Autobots celebrate, the Decepticons are ruined. They're desperate as Energon is scarce. Cyclonus, who is a part of Galvatron's troop, realizes they need to do something drastic for the Decepticons to rise again. Scourge says that fighting for scraps of energy taints the memory of Galvatron. Cyclonus, along with Scourge and the Sweeps, travel to Unicron's floating head. Even compared to Unicron's head, they're tiny, and so they enter through his eye. Once inside, it becomes clear that Unicron isn't dead. There's a spark, and when they access his memory bank, the dormant head comes to life and responds by showing Optimus Prime's fight with Galvatron and Galvatron being hurled into space. Using the data from Unicron's memory banks, he calculates Galvatron's likely trajectory through space. They see Galvatron's arm outstretched while his body is immersed in a pool of lava. Scourge's loyalty and absolute faith in Galvatron leads them to the planet Thrull, where they eventually find him. They pull him out of the pool of lava, and he attacks his rescuer, who pulls him out of the plasma. The Decepticons soon realize that Galvatron has been driven insane by the plasma pools. He is pretty unhinged at this point, and let's not forget that it was Unicron who created him and controlled his mind. We think this reckless and violent behavior shows that Unicron's violent tendencies still live inside him. He attacks all of the Decepticons who came to rescue him until Scourge manages to calm him down. Galvatron finds out that the Autobots have built a space platform for humans, and he promptly decides to change course and attack them. Galvatron attacks the Autobots, who are forced to flee. Meanwhile, Optimus Prime enters the Matrix, which shows him visions about the origins of the Transformers. Many eons ago, Cybertron itself was a factory where the Quintessons produced robots. These robots were either used in the military or as consumer goods, and they were either Autobots or Decepticons. The Autobots managed to drive out the Quintessons, and soon the Autobots and Decepticons started fighting each other. In the physical world, the Quintessons attack to reclaim their creation, but the Autobots are once again able to defeat them.
We did it! We reactivated him!
Ghost in the Machine, Season 3, Episode 16. Now, let's get back to Unicron, whose head is still floating around in space. He's not exactly dead, but he remains dormant. Something pretty incredible happens when Starscream's ghost possesses Scourge, though. Scourge shoots at Galvatron and heads towards Unicron's head. Starscream wants his body back, and Unicron is the only one who can make that happen. After all, it was Unicron who gave Galvatron his new body, so it makes sense, especially to a desperate Starscream. He enters Unicron's head through his eye while arguing with Scourge, who's pretty upset with the possession and the fact that Starscream made him attack his leader. He reactivates Unicron's mind and introduces himself, asking for a deal where he gets his body back. Unicron agrees to fulfill this desire in exchange for 3 labors. Starscream is just too happy and enthusiastically agrees to perform all 3 labors. For the first task, Unicron asks Starscream to bring back Metroplex's eyes so he can see again. Starscream and Scourge actually manage to infiltrate Autobot City and disable the defenses so they can tear out Metroplex's eyes. But Scourge clumsily drops one of them, so they flee with the remaining eye. Metroplex awakens but can't see and announces that Decepticons have infiltrated. He transforms and starts firing, but since he can't see, he's mostly firing at the Autobots. Ultimately, he's taken down with a photon bomb. Since Starscream and Scourge only have one eye, they decide to steal Trypticon's eyes too. Once they manage that, they bring the eyes to Unicron, who's pretty happy with the collection. He informs them of their next task, which is to bring Trypticon to him. Meanwhile, Optimus Prime realizes that Unicron has his eyes back and connects the dots to conclude that Scourge and Starscream stole the eyes for him. Starscream, meanwhile, succeeds in his second task, and Unicron asks him to put Trypticon's transformation cog inside of him. As soon as they finally succeed, Unicron reveals his true motive and announces the third task. He wants Starscream to physically connect his head to Cybertron because he wants his body back. Scourge leaves as soon as he hears the third labor and warns the Autobots of Unicron's motives. Starscream demands a physical body to make the connection between Unicron's head and Cybertron. It sounds fair because Scourge left and Starscream is still just a ghost. Unicron thinks it's fair too and grants him a body, but Starscream betrays him almost immediately and tells him to make the connection himself. The Autobots detonate Unicron's head and it goes flying off into space. The Autobots think that Unicron's eyes were probably destroyed in the explosion, but, it's Unicron. That guy always survives. Somewhere out in space, his eyes twinkle ominously.
Created the monstrous Unicron. Unicron decided to rule himself.
Call of the Primitives, Season 3, Episode 26. Now, we finally come to the true origin of Unicron in an episode titled Call of the Primitives. This episode begins with the creation of a new creature. It's a creature born out of pure energy, and its maker compares it with his previous creation, who forgot who ruled him, but this creation shall never forget. Soon, this creature, which takes on the form of an insect, attacks Cybertron. It drains the energy of the Autobots, and its creator is happy and calls it a creation better than Unicron. Now we know that this is the same person who created Unicron in the first place. A mysterious voice summons Optimus Prime along with some other Autobots, and they follow that voice to an ancient planet. They're drawn into a cave and find a mysterious entity who tells them a story. Primacron was an organic being, a scientist who built many primitives. He was obsessed with his creations, so he kept building bigger and bigger creatures as he gained more power. Finally, he created Unicron, his ultimate creation. For Primacron, the world was flawed, so he wanted to wipe out the world and rebuild it according to his own design. But the moment Unicron gained consciousness, he didn't want to follow Primacron's plan. He wanted to live his own will, and thus, Primacron's plan failed. Unicron tried to kill Primacron, but Primacron managed to survive with a broken body. He then vowed not to repeat the same mistake ever again and created a being made of pure living energy called Tornadron, unlike Unicron, who is made of matter. This creature feeds on energy and can absorb energy from planets, much like Unicron, who devours planets. The entity that's narrating this story reveals itself to be Primacron's assistant. When Unicron attacked Primacron, the assistant escaped. The cycle repeats itself as Tornadron refuses to take orders from Primacron, much like Unicron, and it wishes to devour Primacron instead. This time around, Grimlock saves everyone as he hits the reversal switch and restores the energy of all the planets and Transformers Tornadron consumed. Intriguingly, the show gives us an image of the Matrix rising from the destroyed body of Primacron's assistant. While the show never makes a direct connection, it does leave an impression that fans constantly theorize about. We think it's really interesting that the Matrix may have also come from Primacron and his assistant. It just leaves a lot of room for interpretation, as the show never explicitly mentions the connection. Unicron's origin in Marvel Comics UK. The Legacy of Unicron, 1988, issues 146 through 151. Ironically, in the comic titled The Legacy of Unicron, we actually get Unicron's origin too. Unicron exists without his body, just his head, exactly how we last saw him in the cartoon. Only this time, his head crashes onto the planet Junk, and Unicron enslaves Junk and is seen rebuilding himself using the planet as a new body. The last surviving Junkian asks the bounty hunter Death's Head for his help. He says that an extremely powerful being has enslaved his planet and all its people. Death's Head is reluctant to help, but the Junkion promises to pay him. He even stops Death's Head from killing Scourge and Cyclonus, saying that they might be helpful. Death's Head arrives on Junk along with Scourge and Cyclonus. They come up with a plan. The Junkion will pretend to be enslaved and set explosives close to the target, and Scourge and Cyclonus will distract the target to allow Death's Head to take a shot at the explosives and detonate them. Turns out, Unicron knew about their plan the whole time because the Junkion was under his control. Unicron blasts the Junkion and asks Death's Head to join him. Death's Head tries to resist, but Unicron's mind control is just too powerful. Now under Unicron's control, Death's Head pays a visit to Shockwave, demanding payment. Apparently, Death's Head's mission to assassinate Optimus Prime was foiled by Scourge and Cyclonus, so Death's Head came to ask for compensation from Shockwave. Death's Head tells him that he's killed Scourge and Cyclonus and shows him their bodies. Soundwave confirms that they're not actually dead, and Shockwave sees Death's Head pointing a gun towards him, but he manages to escape. Death's Head pursues, and soon, the Autobots arrive on Junk and find that Unicron has enslaved all Junkians. Meanwhile, Death's Head fights with Shockwave and destroys him by crushing his head. He's a little displeased about this because he thought Shockwave was a worthy opponent. He vows to find a way to strip himself of Unicron's control and avenge both of them. He tells the Decepticons that he's killed their leader, and now Scourge and Cyclonus are their new leaders. Unicron is most pleased with this development. Now, he controls those who lead the Decepticons, and he will use them to launch an attack on the Autobots to destroy Cybertron and the Creation Matrix. Through Cyclonus and Scourge, Unicron takes control of the Decepticons and launches a war against the Autobots. Optimus Prime is shocked because a full-blown war will kill almost everyone on both sides, and he realizes that Shockwave cannot be responsible for this war. Unicron wants both sides to fight and destroy each other. When the Junkions finally rebuild his body, he'll consume Cybertron. Inferno, Smokescreen, and Wreck-Gar decide to go to the Matrix, which can stop Unicron, but they're opposed by a Junkion who's ordered to kill them. He hesitates, however, and Wreck-Gar shoots him. Unicron notices this and sends Death's Head after them. He tries to resist Unicron's control but fails and shoots Inferno, but resists Unicron's mind control just long enough to let the Autobots get away from Junk. In retaliation, Unicron, with his powers, brings Death's Head to his knees, causing him extreme pain. Scourge and Cyclonus follow Inferno and Smokescreen, and just before they can enter Cybertron, Scourge and Cyclonus attack them. Inferno sacrifices himself so Smokescreen can get to Optimus Prime. Death's Head taunts Unicron, saying he's hiding from Optimus Prime, but Unicron is merely amused. This is when Death's Head realizes that Unicron's grip on his mind loosens when he goes on a rant. Unicron reveals that he's forcing the Junkions to construct a time portal, and he's planning to pull Galvatron out of the past and bring him under his control again. It's sort of a petty revenge plan to remind Galvatron that he cannot hide from Unicron. Finally, Smokescreen gets the message across to Rodimus that Unicron is behind it all. Death's Head again tries to defy Unicron, and somehow he manages to push himself into Unicron's mind as the mental link between them actually functions both ways. Death's Head plans to battle Unicron in his mind, so the fight will be more equal, but it's not just Death's Head who's preparing to fight Unicron. Wreck-Gar is planting explosives to take the monster down. Death's Head is pulled into Unicron's mind and finds it difficult to comprehend. Unicron taunts his opponent, who's too confused because he believed Unicron to be a normal being. Unicron is both impressed and amused by Death's Head's resistance and transgression, so he decides to show him his origin. His story begins at the beginning of existence itself, during a cosmic war between two opposing forces, the Light Gods, and him. The Light Gods were associated with order, while Unicron was the embodiment of chaos and fury, wishing to dominate the entire universe. Opposing him was Primus, who aligned himself with the Light Gods. Their battle stretched across time and space, and the scale of war was so huge that it threatened to tear reality apart, but Primus had a weakness, and that was his love for the Life Stain. To prevent further destruction, Primus moved to the astral plane, but he was losing there too. So Primus tricked him. Unicron went straight in to deliver the final blow, but both Unicron and Primus got trapped within asteroids in a frozen state, so neither of them could continue fighting. Unicron, being Unicron, wasn't happy with his imprisonment. Over time, he uses his strength and intelligence to begin to reshape his prison. Unicron ultimately transforms his prison into a planet. By doing so, he essentially reshapes himself as a transforming entity, shifting between planetary scale and robotic form. On the other hand, Primus, who is also imprisoned on an asteroid, doesn't resist. Instead, he transforms himself into Cybertron. He builds the Transformers himself. It's interesting how they make opposing decisions while stuck in the same prison. Unicron builds himself into a singular force of destruction, and Primus becomes a foundation for life to exist and evolve. Primus created the Matrix with his own essence, which has the power to destroy Unicron. The Autobots arrive and interrupt Unicron's monologue. He orders all the Junkions and Death's Head to destroy the Autobots, but Death's Head resists and fires at Unicron instead. This is the issue where we see Unicron lose his cool as he cusses out Optimus Prime and the Autobots who arrive on Junk. While the Autobots launch their attack on Unicron, Death's Head tells Rodimus he knows how to kill Unicron. He goes before Unicron and offers him Optimus Prime and the Matrix in exchange for his freedom. We already know Unicron hates this kind of deal, so it's no surprise when he attacks the mind of Death's Head. This time, Death's Head projects Rodimus into Unicron's mind. Unicron has been waiting for this, and he says now that Rodimus has carried Primus's essence to his mind, he can use the Matrix's power to kill Rodimus and merge with the Matrix itself. Before he can kill Rodimus, though, Death's Head pulls Rodimus out of his head. The explosives planted by Wreck-Gar are set off, and Death's Head pushes Rodimus and Wreck-Gar into the time portal. We get a panel of Unicron up in flames, but Rodimus doesn't really believe Unicron's dead. His evil has been absorbed within the Matrix. Unicron's origin in Marvel Comics US, issues 61 and 74, 1990 to 91. Issue 61, The Primal Scream. We get a slightly different variation of Unicron's origin in The Primal Scream. The story begins on Cybertron, where Bumblebee, Jazz, and Grimlock find themselves after their mission to go to Earth is sabotaged. There, they meet a mysterious guy wearing metal armor who calls himself Keeper. He says he's watching over their god, Primus. Thus, Keeper starts telling them the story of their creator. The Keeper reveals that both Unicron and Primus were ancient beings who once belonged to light and dark gods and were fighting each other in a battle. Unicron, the last remaining dark god, beat the hell out of Primus in both the physical and astral plane. Unicron was too eager to deliver the last blow, but Primus led him straight towards an asteroid which imprisoned both gods. Unicron rebuilds itself into a planet-devouring planet, and Primus creates the Transformers. Primus realized that his essence would always attract Unicron's wrath and hoped that the Transformers would eventually be ready to face Unicron, so he made the creation matrix out of his essence. Primus remains in deep sleep to hide from Unicron, and Unicron travels the universe, consuming everything in his way, searching for Primus. Unfortunately, this is when the Mayhem attack squad shoots the Keeper. The Autobots hold back as the Decepticons attack them to prevent Primus from being woken up, but during the battle, a stray laser blast pierces Primus, and it manages to awaken the ancient being. Upon awakening, Primus releases a psychic scream which travels across the cosmos and reaches the ears of Unicron. Unicron senses the call immediately and recognizes it as Primus's call because Primus is his counterpart. So now, Primus has revealed his location and turned himself into a target. Unicron becomes aware of Primus's location and begins to move towards Cybertron because he now understands that Cybertron isn't just a planet, but the physical form of his oldest enemy. Issue 74, The Final and Definitive Telling. This time, we hear about Unicron's origin from Primus itself. According to Primus, Unicron predates the universe. He existed long before the cosmos did. In fact, before this universe, there was another universe, but Unicron destroyed that one. He consumed the entire universe, leaving behind only the void. So, there was nothing left to consume, and it lulled Unicron into a sleep because there was nothing left for him to do. But Unicron didn't manage to destroy everything. There still remained tiny cosmic fragments that reacted with each other and caused the Big Bang, and the current universe was born. And when this new cosmos formed, the new universe knew that Unicron was a threat to its existence as it destroyed the previous universe. In response, this universe created Primus to oppose him. Primus and Unicron's battle was killing the same life that Primus was created to protect. Therefore, he tricked Unicron and imprisoned them both in asteroids. He was created as a countermeasure to Unicron, so Primus was made with the purpose of stopping the monster. This is why their conflict is inevitable. Unicron was happy at the creation of this new world, as he had something new to destroy. As Unicron continues to move through this existence to consume and end it, Primus works to create, to build, and to give life a chance to exist. We found it fascinating that the villain existed before the hero in this case. Primus tells them that to stop Unicron, the Autobots and the Decepticons must come together to fight him. They have to forget their old enmity and stand together, or else the universe is doomed.
You had the upper hand, Megatron, and then you walked away before it was over.
Unicron's origin in Transformers Armada, 2002 to 2003. Episode 23, Rebellion. In Transformers Armada, we see a completely different version of Unicron. We're introduced to the character Sideways, who notes that Megatron is an incapable leader and he needs the conflict to continue. Megatron's leadership style is growing increasingly tyrannical, and it's clear that Starscream isn't happy about it. Starscream is punished for falling during the battle, and Sideways sees this as an opportunity as he realizes that Starscream is the weak link in the group. He doesn't directly suggest a coup, but he plants an idea in Starscream's head that Megatron is unfit as a leader. Indirectly, he tells Starscream that he might be a better leader instead, and that's why Megatron is afraid of him. Sideways goes to Megatron and tells him to go for a stronger punishment for Starscream. He tells Megatron that Starscream is planning a coup against Megatron. Starscream tells Demolisher he has no intention of disobeying Megatron, so Sideways ups the ante and tells him that Megatron has ordered him to guard a warp gate. This demeaning task becomes Starscream's breaking point. Starscream fights Megatron, but Megatron quickly defeats him, but lets him live. Sideways muses that one day Megatron will regret his decision to let Starscream go, and even though his plan failed, Sideways knows he's playing the long game. Origin: Unicron Battles Arc, Episodes 46 through 52. In these episodes, we witness Unicron actively taking part in a battle. Thrust has sided with Unicron and betrayed the Decepticons, and Galvatron is furious and orders a manhunt to eliminate him. The chase leads deep underground into strange organic tunnels. These caverns feel unnatural and are later revealed to be tied to the origin of the Minicons. Inside the caverns, Starscream is the first to confront Thrust, who attempts to recruit him under Unicron's cause. Starscream refuses, declaring he would rather die than serve him, and the situation escalates when Thrust threatens the kids with the Requiem blaster and blows Starscream away when he intervenes. Meanwhile, Rad and his group are experiencing visions of the distant past. They find out that the Minicons were created from Unicron's own cells. They realize that their meeting with the Minicons was predestined, part of a larger design. The vision ends abruptly, returning them to the present, just as Starscream is about to be destroyed. The Minicons intervene and save him, and the underground battle causes the cavern to collapse, allowing Thrust to escape once more, while Starscream chooses to protect the humans. Thrust escapes through a strange portal, and Starscream follows, and it's here that Sideways reappears and reveals himself to be aligned with Unicron. Sideways attempts to recruit him once again to Unicron's side, but Starscream refuses. Confrontation quickly turns violent as Sideways unleashes swarms of parasitic creatures to overwhelm him. When Hotshot and Wheeljack arrive to help, they too are attacked. At the same time, the human children attempt to communicate with the captured Minicons, urging them to resist being used as weapons. However, Thrust and Sideways ultimately succeed in delivering the Minicons deeper into Unicron's core processor. Eventually, the group escapes the collapsing tunnels and realizes that they're on Cybertron's moon. This moon is actually Unicron himself. That means Unicron has been watching and influencing events from the very beginning. Starscream speaks to Galvatron, explaining the danger Unicron poses, and tries to get him to draw a truce with the Autobots. However, Galvatron refuses to listen to reason. Optimus Prime believes that unity is necessary to win against Unicron, but Starscream declares his independence from the Decepticons and challenges Galvatron himself. Galvatron drives the Starsaber through him, leaving him mortally wounded. But, even impaled, Starscream speaks directly to Galvatron and pleads one final time for unity between the Autobots and the Decepticons, insisting it's the only way to stop Unicron. Starscream transforms and launches himself towards the monster, firing everything he has. But Unicron is too powerful, and he obliterates Starscream in a single attack. This makes Galvatron realize how dangerous Unicron is, and he agrees to join forces with Optimus Prime. Using the power of the Minicon weapons, Unicron begins to awaken fully. This time, the Autobots and the Decepticons launch a full-scale assault on Unicron. Hotshot, Sideswipe, Demolisher, and Cyclonus infiltrate Unicron's body to find a weakness. Unicron shifts from planet mode into his robot form, fully awakened and ready to consume everything in his path. Ultimately, they realize that Unicron's true vulnerability lies within the Minicons trapped inside him. If the Minicons can be awakened, they may be able to resist Unicron from within. Optimus Prime and Galvatron enter Unicron's body. They need to reach the core and free the Minicons from within. This is when Sideways reveals that he's an extension of Unicron himself. Through Sideways, Unicron finally explains his origin and purpose. He reveals that he's grown powerful by feeding on the negative energy generated by the endless war between the Autobots and the Decepticons. Their hatred, conflict, and desire for battle have nourished him for eons. Unicron says that war is not something forced upon Transformers, but something they desire inherently. Conflict is just part of their nature. The Autobots and Decepticons are willing participants who needed just a spark to ignite their true instincts. Unicron says that Optimus himself only resists his instincts because of the Matrix. Without it, even Optimus would choose conflict over peace. Optimus mulls on that and wonders if there's any truth to what Unicron is saying, but then he rejects the conclusion, saying that their nature is not fixed and they're not bound to endless conflict, and the cycle can be broken if they choose so. Outside, a group of Autobots attempts another direct assault, but Unicron absorbs the energy of their aggression and rapidly heals himself. Finally, they realize that fighting Unicron directly only makes him stronger. Unicron regains control over the Minicons, Rad reaches out emotionally to Highwire, and it inspires the other Minicons to break free from Unicron's influence. One by one, they reject their creator, reclaiming autonomy. The Minicons disable the 3 weapons embedded in Unicron, effectively shutting down his power source from within. With Unicron weakened, Optimus seizes the opportunity and destroys Sideways' physical form using the Requiem Blaster. This renders Unicron dormant, and he's no longer an immediate threat. However, the peace doesn't last. Galvatron once again challenges Optimus Prime to a final battle. Their rivalry resurfaces. It becomes clear that Unicron may be gone, but the cycle of conflict he fed upon is not so easily broken. Unicron's origin in Dreamwave Armada Comics, 2002 to 2003, issues 14 through 18. Simon Furman's run. The Dreamwave Armada comics raise the stakes and make Unicron an entity that can move between worlds and consume different universes in different realities. The arc begins with a dimensional portal that opens up in Decepticon Command Headquarters, and Galvatron steps from the portal and says, "This reality will be consumed." Elsewhere, the Autobots find Optimus Prime, but it's not their Optimus Prime. This version of Optimus is dead, but he's probably from an alternate dimension. The Autobots find Overrun, a Minicon who doesn't belong in this world. They come to rescue the terrified Overrun, but Starscream shoots at them. Galvatron gets rid of Starscream and tells Overrun to hand him the Matrix. Compared to Overrun, Galvatron is huge in size, but luckily for the smaller robot, Galvatron is attacked and gets distracted, which gives Overrun a chance to disappear. With Overrun gone, Galvatron steps into a portal and vanishes. Turns out, it was Mirage who hid Overrun and himself with his invisibility. Overrun warns Mirage that if he's here, then it's the beginning of the end. Optimus Prime is seen in an arena which looks like a barren wasteland, and he wonders what could have happened now that everyone is gone. He finds Spinister, who seems out of his mind and trembling in fear. He tells Optimus Prime that someone ate their world. Hotshot questions Overrun, asking him where Optimus Prime is, but Astroscope suggests that the space-time continuum itself is in chaos. Optimus Prime may be anywhere across an infinite number of alternate realities. Meanwhile, Spinister, who seems deranged at this point, tells the lost Optimus that the Prince of Darkness brought destruction upon his world. He says the Devourer of Worlds is here, and we get a panel which gives us a glimpse of Unicron. Suddenly, Megatron's group encounters Galvatron, who tells them that he's destroyed many Megatrons in different realities. As we have seen, Unicron loves creating lackeys, so every time he devours a world, he reshapes the survivors and controls their minds. In this series, Galvatron, Scourge, Bludgeon, Thunderwing, and Dirge are bound to Unicron and are the survivors of their own worlds. Their role is to further destabilize reality so that Unicron himself can arrive. Optimus Prime asks Spinister how to stop Unicron, but Spinister willingly gets sucked into Unicron, deciding to let things happen the way they're happening. Optimus Prime begins feeling hopeless, and Unicron takes on the form of Spinister to speak with him. Unicron tells him that this world too had an Optimus Prime, but Unicron almost pushed him to the verge of death and sent him to the next world as a warning. By now, the Autobots begin to understand what they're facing here is not a future threat, but something that has already consumed entire worlds before reaching theirs. It goes on to show that Unicron is so powerful that he exists outside the normal rules of continuity, moving from one universe to the next as a singular being, unchanged. By the time the arc reaches the end, it introduces a concept that changes all the other interpretations. There's only one Unicron across the multiverse, a singular constant moving through all realities, consuming them in turn, which means that every version of him you've ever seen is perhaps not a different version of him, but the same Unicron moving between different worlds. Optimus Prime decides to speak to Megatron because he realizes that the Autobots and Decepticons will need to team up to stand a chance against this threat. He even rallies the Minicons together, and the final confrontation with Unicron begins. All factions launch a unified attack on the monster, but Megatron wishes to gain favors from Unicron when the opportunity arises. The Minicons manage to damage Unicron, but as soon as Megatron tries to claim Unicron's power for himself, Hotshot, Scavenger, and Red Alert attack him, sending him into Unicron. Finally, Unicron begins to collapse and the Autobots retreat. Yet, Optimus Prime reminds them that evil is never truly gone. Unicron's Origin in Transformers: The Ultimate Guide by Simon Furman, 2004. In The Ultimate Guide, Simon Furman presents a version of Unicron that reshapes the entire mythology of Transformers. This is one of the most famous Unicron origins, and at the center of it all is a mysterious entity known as the One, a being that exists beyond the universe itself, outside of time, space, and all of reality. The One creates two entities, Unicron and Primus. They're not really enemies at this point. They're twin heralds who are sent out into the cosmos to explore, observe, and understand creation. Primus and Unicron are equals and harbor no enmity. But what's so fascinating about this franchise is that Unicron falls, not because he's inherently evil, but because he chooses to. While journeying with Primus, Unicron saw chaos and imperfection, while Primus saw life, growth, and potential. This results in Unicron beginning his act of destruction, while Primus is forced into opposition because he chooses to protect life. Their conflict escalates into a massive cosmic war, threatening the very fabric of existence. To stop the devastation, Primus lures Unicron into a trap, drawing him into a massive asteroid and imprisoning him within it. Unicron isn't dead, and Primus knows it, so instead of continuing the war directly, he turns inward and creates life as a counterbalance to Unicron's destruction. From his own essence, he forms the 13 Primes, the first Transformers, each carrying a fragment of his power and purpose. These Primes are meant to continue the fight in his stead, to protect the universe and stand against Unicron. Interestingly, one of these 13, the Fallen, chooses a different path. The Fallen willingly aligns with Unicron during the conflict. The conflict between Primus, Unicron, and the Fallen eventually leads to a final moment where Unicron and the Fallen are cast into a black hole, seemingly removed from existence, but not yet destroyed. Of course, it's Unicron, and we know that this guy never truly dies. Unicron's origin in Transformers Energon, 2004 to 2005. This time, Unicron's origin takes a darker turn because the story begins after his defeat in Armada. In Episode 1, Cybertron City, the Autobots are rebuilding after their victory. Humanity and Transformers now coexist in a fragile alliance, working together to mine Energon as a clean energy source and to help rebuild Cybertron. The series introduces Alpha Q, a mysterious figure who was once a victim of Unicron himself. Now, Alpha Q seeks to bring him back to life. To do this, he releases Terrorcons, creatures who consume Energon. Earth has an abundance of Energon, so that's where he sends the Terrorcons. A swarm of them emerge from the sky, launching a full-scale assault, but the Autobots manage to stop the attack. The Terrorcons continue to attack the Autobots over time, but the Autobots, along with humans, have begun installing advanced Energon-powered defense systems to stop the Terrorcons, which foils Alpha Q's plan. Megatron's lifeless body is eventually brought back to life as he's been absorbing Energon from Unicron itself. Megatron demonstrates new godlike abilities because of his connection to Unicron, and now he can also force his will upon others, just like Unicron. The Terrorcons who were serving Alpha Q are now under Megatron's control. Megatron himself starts to control Unicron, and Optimus Prime devises a plan to enter Unicron's body and destroy him from within using the Energon grid. Optimus lures Unicron in, and Rad activates the planet's Energon grid, blasting Unicron with massive energy beams. For the first time, the attacks actually damage him, even blasting apart parts of his body. Megatron is forced to retreat, pulling Unicron back from the fight. Elsewhere, Kicker forces Alpha Q to reveal his truth, and he begins to narrate his tale through a series of flashbacks. Alpha Q was once the ruler of a peaceful world known as Planet Q, but his planet was consumed by Unicron. Scorponok ordered the planet to be destroyed in hopes of stopping Unicron. Despite the destruction, Alpha Q survived and was trapped inside Unicron's body. Over time, he discovered that anything Unicron consumes can be restored if enough Energon is gathered. It was his plan to create the Terrorcons, gather Energon to resurrect his lost planet, and bring back everything Unicron destroyed. The energy grid has been damaged in previous battles, and Optimus Prime orders urgent repairs, as he knows the grid is their only real defense against Unicron. Meanwhile, Megatron has gathered enough Energon, and with it, Unicron begins to heal, regenerate, and evolve. His body reshapes itself into a more complete and powerful form, showing his evolution. Megatron plans on using Unicron as his weapon and orders him to attack Cybertron. Under Megatron's command, he prepares to consume Cybertron, but Alpha Q intervenes. He commands Unicron's detached head to move independently, and it slams into the main body. This disrupts Megatron's control and gives the Autobots a chance. Inside Unicron, Megatron is connected to Unicron through a control harness. He declares that he wants to dominate everyone. When Rodimus, Hotshot, and the others arrive to stop him, Megatron shields himself and releases massive amounts of unstable Energon throughout Unicron's body. Alpha Q quickly realizes that Megatron's actions could destroy Unicron itself. His plan is too reckless, as he's deliberately causing different types of Energon to react, risking a catastrophic chain reaction. Optimus Prime devises two plans. Hotshot and Alpha Q will try to separate Unicron's head from his body, while Optimus and Rodimus will try to destroy Megatron. A massive energy rift opens in space, warping reality itself. The rift begins pulling everything towards it. Autobots, Decepticons, even parts of Unicron. Optimus Prime makes a choice. Instead of retreating, he orders his team to follow Megatron into the rift. Unicron's origin in Transformers Cybertron, 2005 to 2006. In Transformers Cybertron, Unicron's story is continued from the point at which the Energon cartoon left it off. The series makes it clear that while Unicron's body is gone, his presence remains. A massive black hole, born from Unicron's collapse, begins consuming planets and threatening Cybertron itself. Red Alert monitors its expansion as entire worlds are swallowed, forcing Optimus Prime to order the evacuation of Cybertron. As Autobots flee to Earth via a space bridge, a mysterious portal opens, and from it emerges Vector Prime. He reveals the existence of the cyber planet keys, which are essentially fragments of Primus's power scattered across the universe. Only by recovering them can the Autobots stop the black hole. The Autobots begin actively searching for the cyber planet keys, but the map provided by Vector Prime is outdated. As the search continues, the Autobots begin to understand that the cyber planet keys are tied to the balance of the universe itself. Vector Prime explains that the Autobots must maintain equilibrium between opposing forces like light and darkness and order and chaos if they hope to stop the black hole. Meanwhile, the Decepticons grow stronger and more aggressive, and they disrupt this balance. Their actions threaten to tip the scales towards destruction. Unfortunately for the Autobots, this is when Megatron returns. He reappears surrounded by mysterious black fog and is an extension of Unicron's lingering power. This dark energy grants him terrifying abilities. Now he can absorb attacks, as well as resurrect and upgrade fallen Decepticons. The Autobots are helpless against this overpowered Megatron, and it's not just him. Sideways manipulates events from the shadows. During the climax, Optimus Prime and Megatron fight. Amidst the chaos, Megatron escapes and runs towards the Omega Lock. The Autobots and Decepticons unite for one last battle. Megatron wishes to dominate the universe under Unicron's influence. He's even ready to let the universe collapse if it means victory. The black hole continues to expand, threatening all of existence. Optimus Prime and the Autobots, armed with the cyber planet keys and the Omega Lock, make their final stand. In the end, the Autobots succeed in restoring balance and halting the black hole's devastation. Megatron is defeated, and peace is restored. Unicron's origin in Transformers Prime, 2010 to 2013. One Shall Fall, Season 1 Finale. In Transformers Prime, Unicron's origin is tied to a prophecy. Optimus Prime reads out an ancient prophecy from the Covenant of Primus, which foretells that a great conflict will reach its climax when celestial bodies align over a world forged of chaos. Ratchet realizes that the description refers to Earth itself. Meanwhile, aboard the Nemesis, Megatron learns of that same prophecy, but from the opposite side. He infuses himself with Dark Energon and therefore believes that he is the rising darkness destined to bring destruction. His plan is to construct a new space bridge that will allow him to expand his conquest beyond Earth. While the Autobots prepare for the coming threat, Megatron launches a direct assault on a human military base to steal a critical power source for his space bridge. The Autobots intervene and it leads to a battle. Megatron attacks Bumblebee and Raph, injuring Raph. Raph's condition worsens, and Ratchet realizes that he's been infected with Dark Energon, a substance toxic to humans. Witnessing all of this, Optimus realizes that the Autobots and Decepticons will never peacefully coexist. So, for the first time, Optimus abandons hope for diplomacy and decides to destroy Megatron. Their battle is fierce, but something else happens. The volcano erupts, and from it flows Dark Energon. Megatron absorbs this power, and his body starts glowing with an unnatural energy. Suddenly, he's stronger, faster, and more dangerous. He overpowers Optimus with ease and prepares to kill him, fulfilling the prophecy in his favor. One Shall Rise, Parts 1 through 3. Season 2, Episodes 1 through 3. As Megatron prepares to finish Optimus, Bulkhead intervenes, allowing the Autobots to retreat with Optimus. Megatron is now in possession of vast amounts of Dark Energon. Across the globe, strange natural disasters occur simultaneously. Earthquakes, storms, and even strange energy phenomena. These aren't random events, they're symptoms of something awakening inside the Earth. Ratchet traces the source of the disturbance to the planet's core. When he converts the seismic signals into sound, they hear a heartbeat and realize that the Earth itself is Unicron. The Autobots aren't just standing on a planet, it's a sleeping god. And now, that god is waking up. As Unicron begins to rise, the planet itself turns hostile. Massive stone constructs emerge from the Earth's crust. Optimus reveals the truth about Unicron's origin. Primus, the creator, and Unicron, the destroyer, were locked in eternal conflict. Unicron was defeated long ago, but he wasn't destroyed. Instead, he became dormant, and over time the planet Earth formed around him. Megatron sees this as an opportunity. He pledges allegiance to Unicron, but Unicron dismisses him. Unicron wants Optimus Prime to merge with him instead. Meanwhile, Optimus encounters Unicron's manifestation. Optimus argues that humans are part of Earth and deserve to live, but Unicron calls them parasites and attacks Optimus Prime. Unicron creates multiple avatars of himself to overwhelm Optimus, and even though the Autobots help Optimus, it's not a simple battle that they can win. Megatron proposes a temporary alliance with the Autobots. He didn't have a change of heart, he just doesn't want Unicron to destroy the same planet he wishes to conquer. And you know what? Fair enough. Megatron's plan is to use the Matrix of Leadership against Unicron. The Autobots and Decepticons form an uneasy alliance, and they reluctantly follow Megatron towards Unicron's core. Megatron is plagued by visions of Earth's destruction, a sign that Unicron's power is rapidly awakening. Ratchet tells his human allies that Optimus Prime and Megatron were once allies themselves. They used to be known as Orion Pax and Megatronus during Cybertron's Golden Age. Their bond was shattered when Megatron demanded to rule Cybertron by force. Orion opposed him, and in doing so, proved himself worthy of the Matrix of Leadership. Back in the present, the Autobots and Megatron are attacked by Unicron's swarm of mechanical drones. Optimus and Megatron fight side by side, but even together, they're overpowered by Unicron. Optimus and Megatron finally reach Unicron's spark chamber, and here, Unicron orders Megatron to destroy Optimus. But Megatron saves Optimus instead. Unicron ends up possessing Megatron's body, but Optimus unleashes the full power of the Matrix of Leadership into Unicron's spark. A blinding surge of energy erupts and destroys Unicron from within. This act not only weakens Optimus, but also wipes out his memories. Megatron decides to take advantage of the situation and turn Optimus against the Autobots, but that's a story for another day. Predacons Rising, 2013 film. In Transformers Prime, Predacons Rising, Unicron's story continues as a sequel to everything Transformers Prime had already established. Once it's revealed that Unicron is Earth itself, Unicron can't remain in sleep forever. As Primus begins to reawaken on Cybertron, restoring life and energy to the planet, it also disturbs the balance and pulls Unicron out of stasis. And this time, when Unicron rises, he possesses Megatron. Megatron's consciousness is pushed aside completely as Unicron takes full control of his body, turning one of the most powerful Decepticons into a perfect vessel. Through Megatron, Unicron intends to reach Cybertron and destroy the Well of Allsparks, the source of all Transformer life. If Unicron succeeds, it would wipe out the possibility of future life entirely. Unicron begins assembling his own army. Discovering a massive graveyard of ancient Predacons, he uses his dark power to resurrect their remains into Terrorcons. This horrifying force gives him the means to overwhelm Cybertron completely. As Unicron marches towards Cybertron in Megatron's body, Optimus Prime confronts him. Optimus cannot kill him, so the solution is to outthink him. Optimus realizes that Unicron's greatest weakness is his hunger, his need to consume and dominate. So, instead of fighting him with force, he creates a trap. He lures Unicron with a new Allspark vessel, something powerful which Unicron cannot resist. As Unicron reaches for it, the vessel turns out to be empty. It's actually a shell designed to contain him. The moment Unicron transfers himself into it, he's sealed inside once more, his anti-spark trapped within a controlled space cut off from the body he had taken. Once again, Unicron is contained and neutralized. Megatron, now released from Unicron's mind control, finds war to be meaningless and instead goes into exile. Optimus reveals that he secretly transferred the Allspark into the Matrix of Leadership within himself. This means the only way to restore Cybertron fully would be through his own sacrifice. Despite the Autobots' pleas, Optimus chooses to give his life. He descends into Cybertron's core, releasing the Allspark's energy back into the planet. The film ends on a bittersweet note, with Cybertron restored, but Optimus Prime gone. Optimus Prime number 17 through 25, the Onyx Prime Revelation. In the IDW version of the Transformers, we get the Falling Arc, which begins with a mystery surrounding Onyx Prime, one of the original 13 Primes, a figure tied to ancient Cybertronian history and myth whose legacy is supposed to represent wisdom and guidance. However, as the story unfolds, something seems off. Onyx Prime manipulates public perception and turns factions against one another. He reveals that Soundwave killed Hoary Bull, and it triggers riots across the planet. Titans, Decepticons, Autobots, and civilians all spiral into conflict. Amid this unrest, Optimus Prime attempts to restore order but is violently attacked by Onyx. In a shocking twist, Optimus tears away Onyx's face, and it's revealed that Onyx Prime is actually Shockwave in disguise. Shockwave reveals his true origin and plan. He traveled millions of years into the past and murdered the original Onyx and assumed his identity, manipulating Cybertronian history itself. He engineered the rise and fall of the Primes and orchestrated Megatronus's rebellion. Starscream, who believes himself destined to be Cybertron's savior, briefly rises, but Shockwave cruelly reveals that the prophecy was fabricated. Meanwhile, Optimus awakens in infraspace, a liminal realm between life and death, where he encounters Bumblebee, who's trapped there after his own death. In infraspace, Optimus and Bumblebee struggle to escape. On Cybertron, society fractures even further. No one trusts anyone anymore, and the idea of unity has collapsed entirely. Shockwave's ultimate plan is revealed. Using Pyra Magna as a vessel, he brings Optimus and Bumblebee back from infraspace. The heroes defeat him physically, but Shockwave has managed to destroy faith in the Primes and dismantle belief systems. Soon, it's revealed that Unicron has arrived. Unicron is devouring worlds one by one. Optimus proposes evacuating entire planets as bait, sacrificing worlds to buy time to understand Unicron. Distrust between humans and Cybertronians erupts into violence when colonists attempt to rescue Jazz from G.I. Joe custody. Finally, the Autobots, Decepticons, colonists, and humans stand together against Unicron. Optimus reflects on the legacy of the Primes, figures who were meant to embody hope, yet often became symbols of failure or tyranny. He wonders whether he's destined to repeat those same mistakes. Unicron's origin in IDW Comics. Transformers Unicron, 2018. Free Comic Book Day 2018, issue number 0. In Transformers Unicron issue number 0, Our Darkest, the story begins with the end already in motion. Unicron is here and active. The Transformers are on their way to the planet Elonia, where Unicron has already begun to feed. The Autobots know it's a lost fight because how do you fight something that's larger than a planet? Optimus Prime says that Unicron is here only because of the actions of Cybertron, and that's why they'll provide aid to the planet. The Autobots plan to establish space bridges so that the inhabitants of Elonia can escape, but Rom the Space Knight doesn't want to run. He wants them to fight Unicron. Soon, Optimus Prime realizes that Unicron is targeting Elonia because it's one of the 13 lost colonies of Cybertron, as proved by the remains of an ancient Cybertron Titan. Wheeljack stays back to operate the space bridges while letting the Elonians escape. They manage to save 2/3 of the population, but figure out that there will be a next time, and they'll have to do better then. Windblade's hologram explains that they've been tracking anomalies, and they've been tracking all the planets Unicron killed, and with every planet he's been feeding on, he's been growing stronger and stronger. The last panel is of Unicron saying, "I hunger." Transformers Unicron number 1 through 6, The Full Origin. In issues 1 through 6, the story delivers the full origin of Unicron. After the buildup of inevitability in issue number 0, Unicron has already arrived. Primus and Unicron are both beings who predate the universe itself. Primus expelled Unicron and became Cybertron itself, and it's said that the 13th Prime would ultimately kill Unicron. Unicron has killed 9 of the 13 colonies of Cybertron. Optimus Prime and the rest of the Autobots, along with Rom the Space Knight, vow to not let Unicron devour any more planets. They track the movements of Maximals who are aligned with Unicron. They determine that Unicron's next target is Caminus, so the Autobots and Decepticons unite against Unicron. Skyburst and Stormclash race against time to activate a space bridge that can evacuate the entire population to Cybertron. The Mistress of Flame urges her people to hold on to faith. Optimus Prime, RC, and Bumblebee launch a direct assault on Unicron himself. The trio enters Unicron and finds traces of everything it's consumed. They realize that Unicron absorbs everything into himself, but before they can find a way to stop it, they're attacked by his immune system. Monstrous hybrid creatures formed from the absorbed remains of countless worlds. During the battle, Optimus is wounded, and the team is forced to retreat. Meanwhile, Unicron releases a wave of energy and begins feeding on the planet. The Maximals break through the Transformers' defenses and wreak havoc on the planet. The Mistress of Flame sacrifices herself to let the Camions transport to Cybertron. Meanwhile, on Cybertron, Shockwave reveals his plan to Starscream. He's spent years poisoning Cybertron itself, turning it into a trap. So, when Unicron eventually comes to consume Cybertron, the poisoned planet will destroy him from within. Starscream announces that he will save Cybertron, and Optimus Prime isn't happy to see him at all. Starscream, positioning himself as the savior of the planet, addresses the gathered population and the survivors of destroyed colonies and dismisses past leaders as failures. He tells them that he has secretly recalled scattered Decepticon forces across the galaxy. These Decepticons now form a vast, coordinated network known as the Decepticon Vengeance Division. Using this network, they locate Unicron and deploy a massive stasis web, attempting to immobilize the Planet Eater and trap it in place. Bumblebee makes physical contact with Omega Supreme, who's been dormant for a long time now, and it causes his mind to merge with Omega. Through this psychic connection, Bumblebee witnesses the true origin of Unicron. An alien scientist created a catastrophic doomsday weapon intended to end all conflict. Instead, it unleashed an energy wave that tore through space, time, and reality. Entire civilizations were erased, and surviving lifeforms were twisted into monstrous entities known as the Dire Wraiths, the ancient enemy of Rom and the Space Knights. Meanwhile, the Decepticon fleet executes Starscream's plan, unleashing overwhelming firepower on Unicron while the stasis web holds him in place. From Unicron's surface, the Maximal army rises. The Decepticons brace for a counterattack, but Bludgeon, who is presumed to be loyal to the Decepticons, reveals that he really serves Unicron. And now, finally, Unicron arrives at Cybertron. Omega Supreme dies after imparting his knowledge to Bumblebee, and Bumblebee fears that the only way to stop Unicron is for all the Transformers to perish. As Unicron looms over Cybertron, the situation reaches an absolute crisis. The Cybertronian fleet launches into a desperate defensive formation, but panic spreads among civilians who fear they're being abandoned to die. Elita 1 rallies the Torchbearers to replicate Optimus Prime's earlier strategy to breach Unicron's armor and destroy him from within. However, before they can even reach their target, the Decepticon Vengeance Division, now fully aligned with Unicron, intercepts them. Optimus Prime, Starscream, Windblade, and Rom debate their remaining options. Rom suggests bringing Metroplex into battle, while Starscream suggests using Metroplex's space bridge to evacuate a fraction of the population and abandon the rest. But as the scale of Unicron's power becomes undeniable, even his ruthless logic begins to make sense. The debate is interrupted by Bumblebee, who arrives and tells them that he's learned the truth about Unicron's origin. The entity was born from an ancient doomsday weapon unleashed on Antilla, a planet once targeted by the Cybertronians themselves during their earliest expansionist wars. Unicron is the consequence of Cybertron's own past sins. This realization shakes the moral foundation of the entire conflict. Soundwave proposes using the Enigma of Combination to merge the entire Cybertronian population into a single colossal being capable of physically confronting Unicron. But calculations quickly reveal that it would still be too small to fight him. Hope begins to collapse, and they start to consider Starscream's plan to flee and let Cybertron fall. Windblade reveals that she has a plan, but with Unicron already descending upon Cybertron, there's no time to deliberate. Even Optimus Prime hesitates, but it's Starscream who makes the decision. Remembering that Windblade once believed in him, he chooses to believe in her now. He rejects his own escape plan and commits to staying. The issue ends with Unicron, who begins feeding on Cybertron. Windblade seeks help from the Visionaries, tapping into the mystical powers of the Talisman. As Unicron begins physically tearing the planet apart, a ribbon of magical energy spreads across Cybertron. One by one, it begins teleporting civilians and soldiers away from the destruction. Blur, using his incredible speed, races across collapsing terrain, throwing as many survivors as he can into the path of the Talisman's light, but he sadly dies. Even Elita 1 sacrifices herself for the Talisman's magic to reach the remaining ships and pull them to safety. And then, Unicron destroys Cybertron. The Transformers are now on Earth. Shockwave's plan has failed. Poisoning Cybertron has not stopped Unicron, and now he's headed for Earth. As the final battle unfolds over Earth, the Autobots, Decepticons, and their allies unite and fight with everything they have. Optimus Prime and RC journey into the core of the Chaos Bringer. In this realm, Optimus encounters the spirit of the Antillian scientist who created the talisman, which is the true source of Unicron's rage. Driven by grief and vengeance after losing his daughter during Cybertron's war, the scientist had fueled Unicron's destructive existence. Rather than fighting him, Optimus chooses compassion. He acknowledges the scientist's pain, speaks to him as Orion Pax, and offers understanding. He helps the scientist remember his daughter, and this causes the talisman to reactivate, and it collapses Unicron inward. With Cybertron gone, Earth becomes the new home for all: Autobots, Decepticons, colonists, and humans alike. This is what makes the ending so different from every other version of the character. Optimus Prime takes accountability, and Unicron ultimately lets his vengeance go.
Forget who I am.
Unicron's origin in Transformers: The Last Knight, 2017. In The Last Knight, Unicron's origin is very mythology-heavy, and it frames Unicron as a godlike threat. According to Quintessa, Earth itself is Unicron, an ancient enemy of Cybertron, a being lying dormant beneath the planet's surface. The planet formed around his body over millions of years. This version of Unicron is described as a Cybertronian god of chaos, often referred to as the Chaos Bringer or Planet Eater, with immense, near-omnipotent abilities, including planetary destruction, immortality, and the capacity to annihilate entire worlds. His core motivation is simple: to consume, dominate, and ultimately become the most powerful force in existence. Cybertronians are repeatedly drawn to Earth because it houses their greatest enemy. Quintessa plans to drain Unicron's energy to restore Cybertron, even if it means wiping out all life on Earth. As Cybertron approaches Earth, Unicron begins to react, and massive horns erupt from the planet's surface, growing rapidly and causing global panic. These are signs of awakening, physical proof that Quintessa's claim might be true. If Earth truly is Unicron, then humanity has been living on a dormant cosmic entity all along. This forces the Autobots to confront the idea that saving their home might mean destroying another. Unlike other versions where Unicron's nature is eventually confirmed and explored, The Last Knight leaves it ambiguous. Unicron never fully rises and never speaks with the heroes. His role is entirely defined through implication, prophecy, and consequence. Even in the climax, when Quintessa attempts to siphon his energy using Merlin's staff, the process is interrupted before it can fully succeed. Enough energy is transferred to partially restore Cybertron, but Unicron himself remains dormant. The story closes on an ominous note. Scientists study one of Unicron's horns, treating it as a discovery, until Quintessa, disguised as a human, reappears and hints that Unicron can still be destroyed. Intriguingly, in this version, Quintessa is the villain, while Unicron's nature remains ambiguous. He's just a big old god lying beneath the surface.
Don't call it a comeback! I've been here for years, I'm rocking my pants, putting suckers in...
Unicron's origin in Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, 2023. In Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, Unicron's origin directly contradicts that of Transformers: The Last Knight. There's no ambiguity this time. Unicron is described as the Chaos Bringer, a Cybertronian deity of destruction whose entire existence revolves around devouring planets and using their energy to grow stronger, with the ultimate goal of becoming the most powerful entity in existence. He's an active god who's already consuming the universe. He commands the Terrorcons and operates through his herald, Scourge. Unicron is cruel, intolerant of failure, and rules through fear and punishment. And that dynamic is made brutally clear in the torture scene involving the Transwarp Key. When Scourge fails to retrieve the complete Transwarp Key, Unicron tortures him telekinetically. The central plot then revolves around the Transwarp Key, a device capable of opening portals across space and time, which Unicron desires to bypass the limits of distance and bring himself directly to new worlds. On a deeper level, Unicron is also famed as part of a cosmic duality. He's the twin brother and eternal enemy of Primus, representing chaos in contrast to Primus's creation. He desires to destroy Primus and everything associated with him, including the Autobots. Despite his immense power, Unicron is not defeated in the story, nor is he weakened. Instead, he's temporarily stopped when Optimus Prime destroys the Transwarp Key, cutting off his access to Earth. It simply traps him, and he remains alive. Unicron is not a villain meant to be defeated within a single story. He's positioned as a long-term, overarching threat, a force that will keep on returning as long as there are Transformers to fight him. By now, it should be clear that Unicron isn't a force that can be destroyed. He's the most powerful being in the Transformers universe, and that's what makes him so fascinating. Optimus Prime, the Autobots, and the Decepticons are hardly able to even weaken Unicron, even when working together. Their best bet is to keep delaying the inevitable for as long as possible. Whether he's buried beneath Earth, traveling the stars, or existing across the multiverse as a singular being, one thing never really changes. Unicron always survives. All of his origin stories are fascinating because they present a different version of Unicron every time. Sometimes he's a god born at the beginning of time, sometimes he's the inevitable opposite of creation itself. Unicron existed before the cosmos did, and we believe he'll continue to exist long after everything is gone. And speaking of the end of everything, we're finally at the end of our video today. Let me know what your favorite version of Unicron's origin is in the comments down below, and thanks for sticking with us right to the end. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more stuff like it from our channel, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons because they really help us out a lot. Otherwise, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.